So if I was a nurse making, okay, not minimum wage, but probably feels like minimum wage sometimes, and I found out that the hospital made like $313 million, I'd be kind of upset.
Point is just to be making those steps and to be giving yourself some sort of hope and some sort of way out eventually if you should need it. We are getting ready to make our first hire, so we've been toying with this idea for a while. I guess Jen can talk more to this because this is more on the property management side of things. This is the Investing RN podcast, and we're back with another roundtable with the team. You know, Josh and I from hosting usually, but we got our CEO, the boss lady today. She's feeling it today. She's thrilled.
I'm not at all sleepy right now.
Ready?
Yeah, she's super sleepy. It is 7 o'clock on Saturday
Everybody's
evening.
getting on to me because I get tired at about 6 p.m. and I'm done for the day.
And that's why you just 3 energy drinks and then you're good.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
No, actually, I was actually feeling pretty crummy the last week. I go on like kicks. Like I'll cut them out cold turkey, won't have any for 2 weeks, and then I'll make up for it the following week. This last week was my makeup week, and I'm feeling pretty crabby. So, no, not crabby, just not healthy. So I'm doing another 2 weeks of nothing, no caffeine.
Whenever I do no caffeine or try to wean back, which is what I'm currently doing, I just have days where I cannot function. I'm struggling so much. It's never a good idea. Every time I try to cut back on coffee, Colin's like, just drink coffee. I can't live with you if you're this low energy.
I was feeling it right before we logged on today. I was noticing the tension.
He was like, it's 7 p.m. He's like, just have a cup of coffee. And I'm like, no, I can't drink coffee this late.
Because I'm just higher energy to begin with. So then...
And I'm very low energy.
Yeah, so
at baseline.
I think same. It's got to be in genetic a little bit.
Yeah, I think our family it runs on the low side.
But I also have the ability to just kind of rally, and some people don't. I'm not saying any names, but
some people can't hang.
Some people can't hang at 7:30 on a Saturday evening.
All right.
It's funny too because Jen's always like, "Oh yeah, it's." Now having a kid, we can't go out anymore. We can't do this. I'm like, dude, it's 7:30, and you're like, you just took a nap on the couch.
I did.
So, yeah, but that's okay. We have different set of strengths, and hers is not staying up for 8 hours.
Not. Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are still cranking along with your new one out there in Wisconsin. How's that going?
He's almost 2 months old. He's good. He's Nicole's a better person to ask these questions, but he's doing good.
I haven't seen him in a few days.
He's eating, sleeping, and pooping just as babies should.
That's all you can ask from them at that age. But
yeah, he's sleeping more through the night now. Although, like compared to the 3 girls we have, he's sleeping the most out of all of them. Nicole tells me how many times she gets up in the evening, and it's only like 1 or 2 times.
Wow.
You sleep right through
You're
it.
Such a good help.
What? I don't hear anything. I told her, I was like, hey, I want to help you. Wake me up if you need help. And she just doesn't. She's like, it's like I have to get up anyway.
You haven't figured out breastfeeding yet?
I have not. I do not.
What was that? Meet the Fockers, and he made the man breast pump thing for the baby.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
You never saw that? Oh,
if it happened, we have
parents.
a running joke. If it happened before 2008, then I haven't seen it because that's when my exposure to the world began.
It could have been in that era, but yeah, things are cranking along. Jen is like halfway through training, basically. Maybe.
I think so. It's hard to get a definite answer because everything is just dependent on how the, I guess, manager or the team feels that I am doing and how I feel I'm doing. I just did like a self-review with my manager this last week, and I was supposed to be 4 months training in the cath lab, and I'm halfway through. And to be fair, I didn't really get I kind of got a preceptor, and then I was like passed around a bit, so I didn't really train with one person. So nobody really knew how far along I was. Everybody was teaching me the same things over again, and I just didn't know that everybody was like, ask questions. I was like, I don't know what to even ask. Like, I don't know what I don't know. So the first few months have been a little bit tough, but starting to make a little bit more sense, but I have no idea how long I'm just going to be training, and right now it feels like forever. And I'm not built for 5 days a week in the hospital.
Especially not after being completely out of it for 2 years.
Yeah, after being out for as long as I was, or yeah, I would say I definitely lost my stamina for this.
Well, and like, it's early shifts, so she's there at 7, which is
Yeah.
not crazy early. It's not like
No,
she's gotta
that's
be there
not
at like
early at
5
all.
in the morning, but we don't go to bed early enough, and that's been like, I actually saw recently somebody posted, and it was an Alex Hormozy quote talking about, like, forget about setting the alarm in the morning, set your alarm to remind you to go to bed at night.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, it's kind
And
of genius.
yeah, I think it was that Irene that we met at WealthCon, and she posted it, and it was like, yeah, forget about setting your alarm in the morning. Set your alarm to remind you to go to bed at night. I guarantee if you go to bed early, you'll start waking up earlier and be more energized.
She doesn't know
Hmm.
us.
Yeah. So I would say, like, I would probably just end up snoozing that alarm anyways, but I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, we should try that.
If I would snooze the late alarm as many times as I snooze my early alarms, then yeah, it'd still be
Still be
late.
midnight.
Still be midnight.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting that I saw recently was did you see that strike in at Rady's in San Diego?
I did not.
So I guess I'm only familiar with this hospital because I know a few people that have worked there. It's a children's hospital in San Diego, and without having gotten into the whole story, I just saw that they struck.
They struck.
They struck.
They striked. I don't know. Whatever they did, they were
They've
on
been
strike.
they've been
On
stricken.
strike.
They done struck. They went on strike, and I don't know. I think is there like an article about it?
Yeah, so let me Google this real quick. I pretend I haven't already pulled it up. So when I Google it, the first article title, which titles obviously that's all you need to see. You don't actually have to
Just
read the article.
just
It
read
says
several titles.
it said amid Rady children's nurses strike, team finds hospital made $313 million in profit in 2022. So if I was a nurse making, okay, not minimum wage, but probably feels like minimum wage sometimes, and I found out that the hospital made over like $313 million, I'd be kind of upset. So not all that upset about what they're doing over there. And then it kind of, we were talking about this earlier. It kind of brought up the point, like, I don't even know how that works. Like, what even happens in a strike? We don't get those out here in the Midwest.
You guys have no rights. It's just like, just show up and work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've never done a strike as a strike nurse. I don't even think I've been at a hospital when they've gone on strike, but I know some people that have done strike nursing, and from what I understand, they cut way back on the services they provide.
Like
Like,
diversion.
yeah, I don't know if it's like full on diversion, but um, like, one of the nurses I know, she said she would go do strikes, and she would basically just be like taking vital signs and doing very basic, like, not even procedures, just basic nursing, because they weren't seeing a tremendous amount of patients or whatever. But you show up for these things and they don't get any kind of training, so I guess the expectations can't be that high. But I mean,
Hmm.
it's kind of one of those things, because I know strike nurses make bank.
I mean, I assume they don't shut down units when there's patients on the unit, so they got to bring in these extra nurses out. Or do they give them notice? Like, how much notice do they give them? Like, oh, we're gonna strike like in 6 months if you don't do something. Like, how much notice do they actually get?
Yeah, I don't
I thought the
'Cause
point
I
was
would,
to not prepare them because it's supposed to
know, but
be.
but
but
there
I feel
usually
like that
is
would
some
be,
sort of,
I feel like
yeah.
that would be an issue. You can't. There's the whole like abandonment issue if you try to do something like that.
Yeah, that's actually a good
Hmm.
question. We should pose that question, because I actually don't know, but I know usually you'll hear about it because I've signed up for a couple different companies that do strike nursing, and they'll usually be a couple weeks out or something, and it'll say pending strike in this area.
Oh yeah,
Sign
because
up now, because they have to recruit the nurses. If it was just like the same day, they wouldn't be able to
oh,
find the
that's true.
people for it. So, and it might be something like you said, where it's this abandonment thing and this duty to report that you are going to go on strike. it's usually a pretty organized effort from what I understand.
Well, I guess this is the difference between when I worked in Tennessee versus California, because there was a couple times where someone was running late. You can't leave your patients until your replacement shows up. So that there's got to be a little bit of issue there, because you also California has these laws where you can't work more than, I don't know how many, is it 16
We're
or
also
12
not allowed
hours?
to just leave the patients.
Yeah, who are you saying leaves patients?
No, I'm just saying, like, because if you're going on strike, the nurses that are taking care of the patients, they have to leave at some point. Like, they can't just work 48 hours straight. But if the replacement never comes in because they're on
You still
strike,
have shifts, I think.
Yeah, I think even the
It's
strike nurses have shifts.
I
I don't
think
understand what
there's more
Tennessee is.
confusion.
yeah.
The point
What is
I'm trying to get across isn't hitting. That's for sure.
okay, so just in case, if you're a patient, just make sure you go to Tennessee because anywhere else they can just leave you.
All right. Well, moving on. So I guess there's a lot more confusion there than I even realized.
Yeah, so clearly we need to do some research on strikes, but the overall thing is just the union versus non-union, and I think prior to working in hospitals, I was very, I don't want to say I was anti-union, but I always kind of thought unions were, I don't know, a bit much, I guess.
What's the point of the union? Is just to keep wages high, or to make sure that people don't forget about?
They're supposed to be the nurses' advocate,
Yeah.
like the go between the nurses and management.
Because nurses in California can't do that for themselves, or what? I mean,
Well,
I guess I assume there's unions in other states also. California is just the easy one to pick on because that's where this news is coming from.
yeah, well, for example, like the hospital we're at now is a non-union hospital, and one of the nurses I work with is she's been there for years, and she just had her evaluation and she's maxed out. So she's been maxed out for however many years. So she's not getting any kind of raises um, year after year, which like, no cost of living, nothing. So her pay has been the same for however long. And because she's an individual and everybody's acting as individuals, nobody really has the power to go and demand higher wages. You know, if one person was to say, "Oh, you know, I'm going to go on strike," they'd just be like, "All right, you're fired. Like, we'll just find somebody different."
You're
But
fine.
yeah, I think that's the whole thing with the unions is you have this big organization where everybody's a part of it. So if you go on strike, it affects the entire hospital. It pulls everyone. And so the idea, and from what I've seen at the when I was at UCLA, that was a union hospital, and you know, anytime you had a dispute, you could go to your union rep. If your conditions were unsafe, you could go to your union rep. They negotiated, you know, they elect a board or whatever, and they negotiate on behalf of all the nurses. You pay your union dues,
You
which,
always get your breaks. Like
yeah,
they make sure that the nurses are like treated right. I'd say like even relationship wise, like, people can't be, doctors or whoever, you have somebody kind of stand up for you if you're not being treated well.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
another government within the larger government of the hospital that's advocating for the nurses. So
And it's
I've
just a nursing union. Like, they're only advocating for nurses, or is it other people are involved in this union?
No, I think even the so I think there's different unions because when I was at UCLA, I think the techs and CNAs, I believe, were in a different union than the nursing union. But then there was some level of camaraderie between the two groups. Like if one went on strike, then the other ones would sometime. I don't know. It's all
It's all politics.
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
overall, like I said, I personally I was very against unions, and then first the union experience I had was at Kaiser, and I was a travel nurse, so I wasn't part of the union, and it just seemed like a lot of petty nonsense. But then going to UCLA and seeing the benefits of a union, it was kind of I was like, all right, well, yeah, I'm okay with this. You know, you can have my union dues, and because they're negotiating higher rates, yeah,
Yeah.
like
And the pay is always like 20 to, I don't know, $20 at least more an hour.
yeah,
20 to
higher.
$30 more an hour. Like it's significantly
yeah. Oh,
way better pay.
but one thing though that we actually experienced with a friend of ours recently, which is still an ongoing thing, is that she worked for an organization and she's an NP within this union. But I think they keep things that is the one thing, is they keep all things equal among NPs, for example. So in this particular case, she can't get she's looking to get a bonus because the particular area she's in, she's doing a lot of work, probably more than the average NP, and her productivity is like so much higher than some others, and so she's probably generating a lot more money for the hospital or for the whatever, wherever she works. um but because of the union, she's having a hard time getting a raise because it's almost like there's a cap and it has to be fair to the other NPs. Like she can't make significantly more than other NPs. And I think that's a situation where it's a little tricky.
Right. I think that's kind of the part of the unions that I couldn't ever agree with. And granted, I play devil's advocate all the time. Like I don't. A lot of times I agree with you, and I'll still disagree with you because I just want to play the other side. But that's the part that I don't think I could ever get on board with, because I a lot of times I would prefer to work twice as hard to make more money, because there's a lot of people that are just not motivated, and that kind of sounds like this is what that is. It's incentivizing you not to work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and yeah, and I think that's one of those things where, and it's like anything else, you can abuse it, and obviously people do, and these people get into these positions and they've been there forever and they know they can't be touched, and they play that to their advantage. And I worked with plenty of nurses that were just lazy and didn't pull their weight, but they're protected, so they weren't going anywhere. So yeah, all in all, I just think that hospitals need to be run more like businesses. Well, but
No,
then
that's
that,
how they
well,
are run right now.
well, no,
I think that's the biggest problem that people have with them right now.
Yeah.
well, no, I guess not like that. I guess what I mean is like nurses pay should be based on productivity, but then it's kind of hard to quantify that,
Super hard to quantify.
because especially when you work, in the ER or something like that, you can be running around picking up all the patients, and I don't know. It's just it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to figure out because I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Well,
But
the answer is just moving around. Leave your hospital for a better job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so
that
yeah,
probably is the
yeah,
best thing, yeah, to figure out your options, because I can't imagine staying at one place and working your way up to just get capped.
right, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there has to be a higher ceiling that you can reach to, because at a certain point, yeah.
Well, not even just the cap thing, but if you started, when I started in, what was that, 2011, I was making $33 an hour. So if I had stayed at that place getting a 2 or 3% raise every year for the next 10 years, I'd still be somewhere in the 50s probably right now. Whereas by leaving and going somewhere else, even within the same health system, now I'm stepped up based on my years of experience. So
I'm gonna try to do quick math while you continue that thought.
well, and Savannah Arroyo, the net worth nurse who we interviewed on here a while back, she actually posted that recently on Instagram, mentioning how many times she's switched jobs and how loyalty doesn't pay. And I know you're always talking about that, Josh.
I saw exactly what it looked like. Like as a nurse, my first job, I came straight out of school. I made the exact same as some of the nurses that had 10 years experience, and yeah, like that doesn't seem right. I wasn't upset because I was the new guy getting paid the same as everybody else, but if I was the person there with 10 years of experience, that would make me a little bit upset. It was the same after anesthesia school. First job out of school, I was getting paid the same as everybody else.
I'm surprised you even knew that, because I feel like nurses don't like to talk about what they're making with each other. Like
Either that or they were lying to me to make me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all make
That's
$20 an
possible.
hour more than you. They're like, oh, you're getting paid so much. You should work harder for us. Well, I think non-profit organizations, all the wages are public, because when I was at UCLA, everybody could look up each other's salary or hourly, whatever they made the previous year, because people were looking up each other's paycheck. I never really cared because
Oh wow, that's kind of weird.
it was,
I wouldn't go that far if you don't want to tell me at the end of conversation.
well, they were
It's like
doing that. They were doing that
they're like
recently at the
grades
hospital I'm
too.
at.
Like some people are super scared to share grades.
Oh,
Or maybe
yeah.
it was just because everybody knew I was pretty dumb and they didn't want to embarrass me to my face.
I never really cared about pay or grades or any of that stuff. So
Well,
usually if somebody asks, I
but
just
it
tell
would
them.
like help. I don't know. I feel like if you guys like strategize together, or if you know, I don't know. Like for when we used to travel, everybody was always kind of secretive about what they made because some people could make more depending on how you like argue the with your recruiters and go back and forth. But like traveling, a
Whoa.
lot of people didn't want to share what they were making, and I don't know why.
No, I think that goes back to the recruiters because I
Did you
think the
as
recruiters
recruiters?
would always say, "Oh, we can give you this much, but we're doing this just for you. Like, don't talk about it. Don't tell anybody." For me, I was like, I would tell everybody. I'd be like, "Hey, look, like, I got this much. I got a bonus. I got a relocation bonus. So go to your recruiter. They can do this, and they will do this if you ask them for it." Because I never cared. Who am I protecting? Like, I'd rather bring up the people I'm working with.
Yeah.
Unless they're lazy, and then I would just tell them, yeah, I think you got a great contract.
I don't,
You're probably
that's
doing better than
more
you
than
should
me.
be. Yeah. But
So
even
10 years, 3% compound, 30 starting with $33 an hour. After 10 years, if it grew 3% a year, that's $44 an hour. 44.35.
should have never left that job.
Wow.
And now, yeah, if you move around enough, I know plenty of nurses getting over 100 in California, right?
With sign-on bonuses,
Yeah.
re-
Well,
retention bonus,
I think
whatever.
people are. I don't know if anybody's that's full-time staff benefited is making over 100 an hour. I think you can make over 100 an hour if you're per diem, non-benefited, night shift differential. At that point, you could be making over 100 an hour. I
Okay,
mean,
so it's
some people might
Maybe.
be making that much as staff, which is incredible.
the
Obviously, at the
typical
union
social
hospitals.
media, lying a little bit, just enough to get the clicks.
Yeah, it's probably like a nurse that worked 5 days a week, but then divided their annual pay by 36 hours a week. just,
Yeah.
Or
just to,
did like 2 bonus shifts a week. Yeah, like 5/12s is what you're saying?
yeah, who knows? I mean, and some people might be. I mean, shoot, if you're listening to this and you're making over $100 an hour as a staff nurse, fully benefited, hit us up in
Let
the
us know.
DMs. Let us know what hospital you're at. Are you
We'll see you
union?
there. If
Yeah.
they have the cath lab that's hiring, we'll see you there.
I mean, if they have any unit that's hiring, no, that's not true. I won't do that anymore. That goes back to another thing, which is, as we were moving up here, and since we've gotten here, people keep telling me about how, other hospitals in the area are paying so much more. But we've talked about this before, and it's just where we're at is, worth a certain amount less per hour. So I think that's always to be taken into consideration.
The lifestyle definitely has some weight. I mean, it would be awesome to be getting paid more, but I know these other hospitals are getting worked really hard and just crazy shifts. And yeah, what we're doing now, I mean, if you talk to the people that we work with, they think it's really hard, but we've come from some really hard places and we're like, this is so cush here.
Calm down, yeah. Oh yeah, that's the same for me also. Like there's when I pick up all these extra shifts in other hospitals, there's been some places where dad is like, "Hey, I can make this much more," and it's like 30% more for a day. But he's working the whole time, probably 10 hours straight, and then I go and I just do a couple cases and it's a pretty relaxed day. I'll take that any day over a full straight 10-hour shift of actually working the whole time.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to do something outside of nursing, like investing or building any kind of business or trying to start, yeah, investing in something else. You need your energy and your just yeah, you need a little bit of space to do that. And if you're worked so hard at work and you come home, you're not going to have that mental capacity to take on anything else.
Yeah, and I talk about like these critical access hospitals. It's kind of it's great. It gives me enough time, and in between cases, I'll be able to do something real quick if I need to, or so I like my focus is at work. Obviously, while I'm there in the middle of surgery, obviously I'm doing that 100%. But there's plenty of time outside of that. Even while I'm in the hospital, still there's plenty of time to do a thing here and there, if I
So
need to.
so you can't like watch any kind of golf or anything while a case is going on?
I would never.
On the record, no.
I would, on the record, no. Yeah, let's stop recording, then have another conversation.
Yeah. No, I
No,
think I mean, yeah.
I love those memes of CRNAs sitting there like shopping for new golf clubs in the middle of surgery. Those are great videos. I can't relate. I cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely worth, I mean, but again, all of these things go back to, the big thing of having something outside of nursing to fall back on, something where, because I mean, obviously, like this strike in San Diego, they're not going to just say, okay, off with all your heads. We're just going to replace the whole lot of you and start fresh. That's not going to happen. They're going to come to some resolution. It's kind of silly that they have to go on strike because every time these strikes happen, I mean, I don't know the statistics, but it seems like everything I've heard of, somehow the nurses win because how are they not going to win? Maybe they don't get everything they want, but they get pretty much what they want. And I could be completely wrong. So
Yeah.
again,
Well,
fact check.
these places have like hundreds of nurses, if not 1,000, in some of these larger hospitals.
Right. And they're making
Yeah, you
so much
can't.
money daily and they're losing so much money when they have to cut back because these strikes. So it's just kind of ridiculous that it even comes to striking because, I think I saw, you see all the signs. I don't know if I saw it on Instagram, but it was showing the people holding their signs and it was like, we want higher pay, not pizza parties. And then another one commented, isn't it funny that they're using the free umbrellas that they got for Nurses Week to shade themselves from the sun or something? But it's just I don't know. It's all ridiculous. I mean, the fact that they can't just, the CEO, like, what are you doing, dude? Just sort it out,
Yeah, but
prevent these strikes.
that's it goes across like the board. It's the hospital institutions, but it's also like the small surgery centers, the private surgery centers, because
Yeah.
I've done that all around LA as well. And the staff nurses don't get paid anything. And I mean, even
Yeah.
as a per diem nurse, even like picking up registry, sometimes registry you can make okay in the surgery centers, but like I would work with, or not work with the owners, but like the nursing director is so small. It's such a small surgery center that I'd end up working with like the guy who started it. And, he's driving, the latest Tesla model. And, there's just so much money in the surgery center. But I was started off at like, I think I started there at like $40 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
It was maybe even less than that, but it's like you're not making anything. And I ended up haggling my way up to I think like $60 an hour when I finally left, which I think was pretty decent for per diem in surgery centers because surgery they don't pay anything on outpatient.
Yeah.
But it's like they're just like, no, we don't have the money, we don't have the money for this. And I'm like, are you serious? I can literally see the money floating all around me here. Like, you guys are doing so well and you won't pay your staff. And they were always bringing in registry nurses because they can't get anybody to stay because they don't pay their nurses anything.
That's something that's mind blowing to me. Just the amount of travel contracts or travel nurses you're paying. Just pay your regular nurses. Regular nurses. That sounds. I didn't mean that. Just
Staff.
pay the people, the staff nurses.
Staff.
Pay the staff nurses what
Well,
you pay the travel nurses. They'll be extremely happy. They'll never leave. And I heard that it costs like tens of $1,000s to train a nurse because you're like precepting them for like 3 months. So you're like almost losing a nurse for 3 months while you're precepting them.
Well, that's if you hire staff, but that's why they use the travel companies because when you're a travel nurse, you show up, you get maybe 3 shifts of training, and then you're on the floor. So they're not losing that 3 months of training. They're not paying them any benefits. So I mean, there's got to be it's got to be more profitable to the hospitals to use travelers. Otherwise, they would pay their staff more, and they would, it always I think from our end it always seems like, oh man, they're spending so much on these travel nurses, this can't make sense financially for them, but it must because they're not
Yeah, I
dumb.
guess that's a good
doing
point.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard that one time.
That's true. It seems like it's such a common sense maneuver that maybe that's not actually the case.
Right, because you're not training them. They just come in. They basically start working right off the bat. You're not paying
Oh, no benefits.
You're not giving them any benefits.
Yeah.
You're not giving them any paid time off. You're not giving them any medical. You're not contributing to their 401k. So
yeah, and likely you're not having to deal with vacation and probably the same amount of time off stuff either. They're just coming in working their
and if they want to strike,
assignment or whatever,
cut them, get someone else. So
yeah, strike away.
Yeah, I as much as it doesn't make any sense to me, it seems like it would be in their best effort to retain employees at any of these organizations. I think financially they just do the numbers, and it's just so. Speaking of this kind of stuff, when I was doing construction for a while, one of the guys I was working with was he was a foreman for a big construction concrete company. And he said when these companies would do their bids, they would factor in, depending on the size of the bid, like when they did SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, I think at least one person died. And he was saying that when they do a big project like that, they factor in deaths into their bids. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So anyways, all that to say.
Do they do that for nurses?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's the same type of people running the hospitals that are running these big construction companies and all these, CEOs and whatever.
They're factoring nurse death.
They're running the numbers and they're crunching, they're doing the math and they're figuring out what the most profitable thing is. So they're all about the bottom line, and it's, losing a few nurses here and there and replacing them with travelers. I'm sure they factor that in. It's just, yep, we can do it. Just run it. So in other words, they don't care about us.
All that to say, nobody cares about you.
Invest.
Give yourself an option to leave as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you decide to stay in the hospital, if you're taking care of patients and you don't actually have to be there, guaranteed you'll be taking care of them better than if you're forced to be there.
Oh yeah. My attitude is so much better now, than it was. I mean, a lot of that has to do with just the type of hospital I'm at now. And it's not even the hard work that, I don't, when we're busy here and I'm running for a few hours, whatever it ends up being, I don't mind working hard. I just can't stand the nonsense of these bigger hospitals and the management and just the patient populations that you have to deal with in the cities and that kind of stuff. It's just wears on you. So yeah, critical access, baby. I don't even know. That's not necessarily what we are, but I'm calling it that.
I don't know what our hospital is.
It sounds like it. So that it definitely fits the mold.
Yeah. We I don't know. But yeah. And then I guess on the investing side of
what do we have as far as updates in the last month?
I think the big story right now for us is we are getting ready to make our first hire. So we've been toying with this idea for a while. I guess Jenn can talk more to this because this is more on the property management side of things.
Yeah, our first U.S. based hire.
That's true.
We definitely have several VAs, virtual assistants that are helping us manage some things, but this is our first.
Not including Montana.
Oh,
shout out to Montana.
This is not our first hire.
Montana.
Maybe this will be.
Well, that was like a contract. It was like a contract, so not necessarily an employee.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
we're bringing somebody into our small, tight team, so we're excited about that. And he's going to be working primarily in property management. So Colin and I are so ready for this to happen because we've been drowning in the management. Really excited to get more into just dedicating some time to investing RN and focusing on building our portfolio. I mean, we've definitely been building in the meantime, but day-to-day stuff.
Well, and it kind of goes back to like some people will think that's kind of crazy because we're not making like a ton of money off of our real estate right now currently. So making a hire before you're rolling in the dough, a lot of people would, I don't know. I say a lot of people. I'm thinking of a couple people that have said that you know, they would prefer just to keep it themselves for a while to keep making them more money. But this kind of more, it more goes back to like building a wider foundation so you can build taller once it's built properly. So it'll definitely give us the opportunity to buy more properties faster while putting a lot of more time into investing our in the community that we're trying to cultivate here.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of those things for us where, you know, as we started looking at the idea of hiring somebody American based for our real estate portfolio and for management there, it came down to, yeah, are we making money? Are we making enough money in the business to support a hire? But we're also at a point now where, yes, we are, and we can support this hire. But you know, let's say we had a big expense come up, and all of a sudden it was like, you know, do we pay him, or obviously we're going to pay him? You know, we
do we pay him?
Don't worry.
Did you listen to this? I hope he didn't.
I hope he listens. We're going to pay you. Don't worry, we're going to pay you. But you know, now, but again,
speaking of unions,
yeah, speaking of unions, don't you dare try and unionize. We'll shut you down so fast. He's going to be on the phone to the Philippines trying to unionize with. But now with having the jobs that we have and making more money, it you know, it makes me feel comfortable. If anything ever came up, like, okay, I'll pick up another shift and I can easily cover that. And I, even to be honest with you, even if the company couldn't afford to pay him, I would almost rather work an extra shift or two just to be able to hire him to get me out of all the nonsense day to day, because it's just I don't know. I think certain people have a knack for it, and I enjoy the problem solving side of it, but it's just such a distraction. And I was just thinking about it today or the day before, because our deal flow has slowed a little bit just as we've been doing all these other things with the podcast and trying to stabilize the portfolio we have. And it kind of hurts my soul to know that our deal flow has slowed down.
That's right. Picking them back up. You say it's slowed down, but we've literally bought 70 doors in the last like 4 months.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
did I do quick math good? More than that. It's been more than 70.
It was almost 80, but well, yeah, something like that. But I think because we had all that lined up and now we've closed on it, and I've got a couple things in the pipeline, but nothing concrete, no accepted offers right now. Whereas like before, it was like we had offers going out, we had offers accepted. So it was kind of, you know, one after the other coming up. Whereas right now, you know, I don't remember what we were supposed to hit if we hit 200 doors, but I want to do that. Was that Greece?
Yeah. No. Greece was 300 doors. We were going to get some sick chains. Twins.
Oh, I thought that was
chains.
150. I thought that was 150.
You were going to get
was that
some
150?
Chandler and Joey bracelets?
Yeah.
Yes. Best friends. I pity the fool.
Now that Jen's involved, does she get a friendship bracelet?
Of course. Okay, so I didn't realize that was 150, so we got to get those now. So that's exciting.
That's cool.
All right. So if anybody knows a jeweler,
because I know 300 was Greece. I know that for a fact because we were supposed to hit that.
Greece was turned into Disneyland.
No, what?
No, I don't want to go to Disney.
I thought Nicole's 30th was supposed to be Greece, and now it's what?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was because we were supposed to. It was supposed to line up. It was like when we first made that vivid vision. It was supposed to be in 3 years we'll have 300 doors, and that will hit Nicole's 30th birthday, and we'll go to Greece.
I mean, I'll go buy 150 pad park tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday. I got some.
Then
stuff
we'll go to Greece.
You got some stuff tomorrow.
I got a few shifts I got to work.
Oh man, yeah. How's the night shift treating you? That's got to be tough, going back and forth, or is it not too bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. The only thing that's annoying is just the day of recovery afterwards. As it's going on, it's not that bad. It's just, you know, I think Wednesday or Thursday, I worked night shift Wednesday night and then got up, went and picked up Indy so she could nap at home, and went to put her down for a nap and ended up sleeping for like 2.5 hours with her. So it just completely shot my whole day, but I don't know. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, as the shifts go, I mean, it's pretty chill. I think the thing that surprises me is how many people get out of bed at 4 a.m. to show up to the ER though for just nonsense.
They set their alarm to
I think
come
they
in
do.
with their broken ankle?
Yeah, some of these people, I think they kind of know, hey, if I get there by 5, it's gonna be it won't be busy. I'll get right in. And it's like, I've just been holding on to this UTI for the last 2 weeks, waiting for just the right moment. Like Wednesday at 5 a.m., I'm gonna go in.
Like, I tried cranberry juice 3 weeks ago. I figured it would take a while to work, and then I decided to come in.
I don't get it, but without fail, you get the most random stuff in the middle of the night. What are you gonna do? Job security.
It really is.
So, but yeah, but the new hire thing's gonna be great because I think that'll give us the time and the bandwidth to be able to expand the business. Oh, and kind of to your point, yeah, we are trying to build wider so we can build higher because I think this new hire will allow us to scale. And there's going to be a decent amount of time getting him dialed in and trying to get him, figuring things out.
Well, and so you said we don't have anything in the pipeline. I mean, no new park acquisitions, but we're bringing in new homes, and that's kind of something new that we haven't done. So
true.
Yeah, that's
that's kind of new acquisitions because we're going to be buying 4 brand new mobile homes, bringing them into our parks, and that's going to increase the value substantially.
Yeah.
So there's kind of new stuff going on. It's not just you don't get to have all the fun, Colin.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's even something within our own real estate journey that we've struggled with. And I think, full disclosure, I think there's always this thing of, people always throwing out the numbers of lots or numbers of units they have and all that. We say 150 basically just because we want to buy matching gold chains. But I think the number of economically occupied, meaning like tenants in place paying rent, is closer to about 135 or so,
which is much more meaningful because the other empty lots are clearly just sitting there, just
right,
doing nothing for us.
They may need like lot prep and a home.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of liabilities.
We have an eviction or potentially more than that coming up.
But
in the state of Michigan, which is a first, so we'll keep you posted on those.
Yeah, that should be fun. We need to quickly hire because I don't want to do that again. We're gonna make Brandon go through that for us.
But
isn't he tomorrow, right?
No, he's
wait. When is he coming on?
Like a month from today.
Yeah.
I thought you said the 28th.
Oh, I wish.
No, the 26th of August. Yeah.
So close.
Josh showing how heavily involved he is in the property management side of things.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel so disconnected from what's going on in our properties right now, and I like it, but at the same time, like, I don't know what's going on.
And that's not because we haven't tried to rope him into it.
Yeah, he's always begging us. Like, just tell me more, give me more to do, please.
I don't do that.
But the point is
if you guys saw that one reel that me and Jennifer made a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
I was managing one unit. That was the only eviction we've had to date. Was the one unit that I was managing.
I'm like, you cannot do this.
Nailed it.
So I welcomed myself away from the management.
In our space specifically, so we're doing the mobile homes. We have empty lots, and filling the empty lots isn't. It's I would say in some ways it's harder than just remodeling an apartment unit, depending on the extent of the remodel. But you have to physically bring in a new home. You have to put in a pad. You have to get the utilities all set up. You have to bring the home in. You have to set it. You have to do the skirting. You have to get it all set up. So it's a big project. And a new home, if you were to go out and buy it, would be $50,000-$60,000. We found ways, actually through connections we made at WealthCon, got connected with somebody that does financing for it. But I don't know the exact number, but let's say we have 15 empty lots in our portfolio. If we just went and filled those lots, that's the equivalent of another small mobile home park, and probably a greater value because these would all be brand new mobile homes that we could potentially be.
We can figure that out right now because our average lot rent is somewhere around, let's just say 300. Let's say 300 just for easy numbers.
Yeah, so that'd be an extra $4,500 a month if we brought in 15 homes. But I'll let you use the calculator. Go ahead.
times 12. Colin's really good at math in his head.
And me
Okay,
and
so
Josh are exceptionally terrible, so it balances out.
So I have a calculator in my hand, and Colin does it in his head, and he still gets it right more times than me.
Yeah, that is so true.
Our number.
Okay, and that at a 9 cap, we bought a lot of parks at 9.5 cap rates, and I think that's pretty standard these days. 600,000. So that adds $600,000 to our portfolio value by bringing in these 15 homes.
But do the math for yourself at home, because that could be completely wrong. let's just say plus or minus 100,000.
100?
Just adjusting for any errors in math.
Oh, so could be 500, could be
700.
whatever 100 more than 600 is.
Wasn't your dad a math teacher? Both of your dads was a math teacher.
And our
It was
sister.
not
but
passed on.
Oh my,
Don't worry, my mom homeschooled us.
yeah.
Hey,
It's our
hey,
excuse for
Debbie,
everything.
I got your back. It's not her fault.
Just kidding. Love you, Mom. If you listen to this, I don't think she actually listens to
No.
this.
She listens.
No.
Dad'll listen to some of them.
He'll tell her. He'll tell on you.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I think it's just an important thing, you know, and our problem for a while was cash flow, and we're so focused on acquiring new parks, which tend to, you know, end up costing a lot of money. And just looking at that,
There's always a lot of renovations when you first get it, or not renovations on mobile home parks, but stabilization is expensive.
yeah. So, you know,
Mhm.
just depending on what you have, what, you know, whatever your investment is, there's definitely ways to optimize the current investment you have rather than chasing new stuff. That being said, I love chasing new deals. That's kind of my thing, so I want to get back to it. And then the new hire, he can stabilize them for us. He can optimize them.
Because that is a massive headache, and I have
Yeah.
very much disliked the new acquisition part of it.
Yeah.
It's so fun as soon as we close, but literally after closing day, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Gotta
Here we
chase,
go again.
gotta
Yeah,
chase
'cause
down all these new tenants.
I mean, what's the first, like, while we're on this topic, what are the first few things that you do? Because I mean, a lot of these parks, you don't even have the contact info for everybody when we first buy them, right?
Well, that's what we're trying to get from the previous owner, like at least a week or two before closing, and we'll have like a introduction letter ready to go out as soon as we close. But then, I mean, they're being mailed out. If we have email addresses, we'll email it as well, but a lot of times we don't. A lot of times the mailing address is incorrect, so then every single time we have tenants that say that they never received any information and send checks to the previous owner who may cash them, and we're not sure how to get that money. Or, you know, it's at least a month for us. It's usually been like trying to just get in contact with these tenants. And for the most part, like the majority will end up reaching out to us. Somebody gets contact, and then really it's the people that want to pay will find the letter in the mail or their email, and the people that end up usually always being a problem every month, those are the people that never find the letter or never receive the email. So we have found the problem tenants like right away.
But
So those who are excited to pay rent, they're not hard to track down.
Well, there's some that are like they get anxious. They know that they could get evicted if they don't pay. So they make sure that they reach out and they want to make sure that their rent was received. So those are always great tenants because they don't want to get kicked out, which is great.
And they probably like the online portal that we have too, because then it's immediate, and then they know that it's immediate.
We try to get as many people on automatic payments right away. And we don't offer discounts anymore. We toyed with that initially. We're like, do we discount people to, you know, set up automatic or just use our online system, or do we penalize them if they don't? But I don't know. We went back and forth, and we don't incentivize with offering discounts, but we do have like late fees and stuff in place. But once we get people set up on our like online system, things are pretty dialed in, and it's pretty easy once we can just get them to kind of get on board with our new system.
Once they're on there, how, I don't want to say headache free because nothing is headache free, but how much upkeep is there once they're actually on there? Because I mean, mobile, like the reason we buy mobile home parks is because there's not, like, not supposed to be as much upkeep? Like, is it pretty much just collecting the rent and making sure that their home looks like it's not being overtaken by weeds and stuff?
No, I mean, there's like in the summer, we have issues with like trees falling over or branches, and like we need that kind of work done. Um, which obviously tenants will let us know. These kind of tenants that a lot of times the neighbors will get into disputes. We have certain parks where there's always a fight, or there's always like something going on with tenants. We have one that's on a lake, and there's been like an ongoing situation with the docks on the lake. All of the tenants on the lakeside are in a dispute about where the dock should go, and they reach out to us wanting us to tell somebody else to move it, or they just tattle on each other constantly. And that's been really annoying because we don't know how to problem solve that stuff when we're not walking and seeing like what's happening. And Colin is, of course, the peacemaker, and he goes and like tries to talk with each tenant and get their side of the story. Meanwhile, I'm just like, I'm just gonna make something up because you guys are all ridiculous. So I'm not dealing with that.
So this goes back to doing your homework and everything, which we haven't been the best about, and I think that's been one of my things where Jenn is very wants to just go in and tell them this is the way it is and this and this, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I also don't know the full legality of some of the stuff she wants to implement.
We'll find out.
So I'm always
We'll find out when you get away with it.
I'm always walking this fine line between coming in as this authority and then I just don't want to have to walk things back once we've made this.
I can imagine Jennifer just being like, okay, all of the docks are now mine. You can't have them anymore.
I definitely did throw it. I was like, well, you know what?
That was an
we
idea.
We own the property, so none of you can have dogs now. You can't figure this out.
No swimming in this lake.
No swimming. Yeah, my solutions are always well thought out.
Jenn was like, well, let's just cut the power to the park, see how they like it. No, I'm just kidding. She
Turn the well off. Yeah. Who needs water?
No, but in terms of tenant by tenant, what they actually need once they're dialed in, I mean, you still have to update their leases. You still have to make sure all their rent payments are the charges are correct and going in each month, because these mobile home park tenants can be slippery. They're not necessarily going to be the most forthcoming if you forget to add their rent charges one month. They'll just kind of just we're but and again, like she said, that depends. There's different types of people, but for the most part, once you get them into the online system, the rent collection side of that is automated and pretty simple. I think one thing that would be a nice like free piece of education or information would be like something like the system that we've developed for park takeover, and it really applies to any property when you take over a property, because there's certain things you need to do with switching over the utilities, contacting the local for the utilities, and then insurance, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but that's definitely something that could be valuable, because it took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah, we've been foreshadowing in the community that we're building a few times, and there's gonna be some freebies and some other stuff that we're gonna send out to people who are interested. And yeah, I think we're winding down here, but I do want to ask whoever's listening this long into the podcast what you thought about this, because we're thinking about doing a little more like news flash kind of segments, kind of like I'm a big fan of the All In podcast, something a little bit similar to that, but also we want to keep our real estate in the forefront as well. So if you guys have any thoughts, or if you like this type of a segment a little bit better, give us a DM on Instagram.
Yeah, well, and I think also if this is something that's interesting to people, then we could kind of look at different guests that can talk more to the unions and to the hospital side of things, because that is a big part of the audience that we're speaking to, is people that are in this on a daily basis, the nurses and all that. And so if there's anything relevant to people like that we can discuss, then that'd be great.
Yeah, and assuming that the nurses that are listening are actively in the workforce, we're trying to encourage nurses to start thinking about building something outside of shift work. Our focus now is, build wealth instead of picking up an extra shift.
I think the way I originally thought about it was nurses like just cut back, like do something else instead. But I've kind of changed that a little bit because you will have to pick up extra shifts when you're first trying to get out of the hospital. At least this is my opinion. Like I think you will have to work extra shifts to be able to get out of the hospital. It's just what you do with those extra shifts. Take that money to go put it into a property. Or take that and go put it into some business that you want to start building. I think it's going to be almost essential that you pick up some extra shifts to be able to get out at some point. You can't just fully cut out. That would be miserable.
Yeah,
I kind of tried to do that last year a little bit, and it was a bit of a struggle, and we've talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So now
you cut your salary way back. You were like barely making any money, and especially being that you're in Wisconsin.
So
Let's
you
talk
were like
numbers.
you were basically
golden
living on like
handcuff.
rice and beans for a year.
On
The income creep hit me. It hit me last year really hard because I realized how much money I have to live on, and it's more than it should be. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're still healing. We're still learning ourselves.
Yeah, honestly, and yeah, just plan a little bit better than I did.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, I think that's a good point though, the whole working thing, because even as we're 4 years into our real estate journey and we've done decently well, we're all still working in nursing. So there's definitely within the nursing, and you're going to have to. I mean, how long did we listen to Bigger Pockets before we made our first deal? And how long were we educating ourselves before we bought our first home? And then, unless you really knock it out of the park on your first deal, it's going to take several deals to even feel any kind of difference in terms of like income or anything like that. But the point is just to be making those steps and to be giving yourself some sort of hope and some sort of way out eventually if you should need it.
Or if you want, or if you just want to cut back, because like we've talked about, like working part-time or just less than the full requirement can be so much more freeing. Like you don't need to leave, obviously, to find a better balance, but because a lot of people who go into nursing really like it. I don't know what that's like. No, a lot of people really like it. Like it's a lot of, I see a lot of nurses who identify as nurses, like that's their life. So I don't imagine, like, some people are not trying to leave this fully. Maybe just having something on the side where they can show up once, twice a week, and that would be really freeing.
It's more, we're more trying to be lifestyle investors.
I like that.
The lifestyle CRNA.
The lifestyle CRNA. And that's kind of the whole point. Yeah, we want to be lifestyle investors. We're not trying to, and I think we've had some people on here as guests that make it seem like it's easier than it is. And you see that all over social media. We've been trying to be a little bit anti that the entire time. And that was kind of one of the biggest reasons for this podcast. It's because we want to be anti-glamorous. We want you to be, we're trying to be truthful and tell you how it really is, or at least from our point of view. And it's been hard, and it hasn't been as fast as we have wanted it. And I think we've said that a lot.
But through that, we've found, I mean, you've got a great gig with what you're doing there. Yeah, you've had to go back to picking up some extra shifts, but I just don't get that. And then and then, we were out of nursing for a while, but we found our way back into something that's a good fit for us. Mm-hmm. So I think we've harped on this enough. We just hit the hour mark. It's time to wrap it up. Thank you for listening. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on every platform we're on. I think we're on podcast, Apple, Spotify, Instagram. And while we're not trying to be super glamorous, for those of you on YouTube, I have a special treat. We've been in Napa for 3 months.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness. They're not red. What's your deal? I'm just kidding.
I got them Woody style with the pants tucked in because I don't own any jeans that will fit over them. Yeah.
Little LA type boy jeans.
Oh my goodness. For those of you on audio only, he just gave us a shot of his New boot goofing.
I got some new boots. It's not a big deal.
New juice.
It matches the picture behind me. I'm going full on.
We're full country now.
We're moving up to Napa.
2 months later.
Yeah.
Born and raised in LA proper, and he's such a country boy, more than me and Jennifer by far. And we grew up in a town of 8,000 population.
Yeah. No, I've as soon as we finish this up, I'm getting on Google and looking for the local rodeo.
Ooh, nice.
But
that sounds fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.